Hey friends, I'm Amy, and today we're making our next copycat recipe. We're heading to Outback Steakhouse, and we're gonna make some Tasmanian chili that is so good, you'll never want to leave the house again. Upfront disclaimer, no Tasmanian devils were injured in the making of this chili, either adorable yet scary real ones, or adorable and hilarious animated ones. It's also a one-pot wonder, and not having a billion dishes to wash just makes me happy. We do have some choppy prep to do though, so let's get cooking. First, we need to mince up 3 cloves of garlic. And you can use pre-minced garlic, but the flavor will be slightly different. It's still gonna be delicious though, so if you want to use pre-minced garlic, it'll be about 1 tablespoon. Set the minced garlic to the side, and next is a red bell pepper. We need to remove the seeds and the veins from the pepper, and the easiest way I found to do that is to just cut off the sides like this. Grab any straggler seeds, and then we need to dice this pepper up into like a medium dice. You basically want the pieces to be similar to the size of the diced tomatoes you get out of a can. When that's done, set that to the side too, and next we're going to do the same thing with a yellow or a white onion. Now if you have a small to a medium size onion, you want to use the whole thing, but since I have a gargantuan onion here, I'm only going to use half of this thing. When the onion's diced up to a similar size as the pepper, set this one to the side too. Next, and we are so close to finished, we also need to dice up 1 jalapeno. Like the bell pepper, we do need to remove the seeds and the veins because we only want the flesh of the pepper. And as usual, I always recommend using gloves for hot peppers so the spicy doesn't stay on your hands for many, many hours. Dice this up like the others, and all of our fresh veggie choppy prep is done. The very last choppy prep we have is the beef, and for this we need a chuck roast that's around 2 to 3 pounds. This chili is not a ground meat chili, it's a steak-based type of dish that uses slow-cooked chuck roast cut into bite-sized pieces. Here we have our chuck roast, and I'm dicing it into pieces that are small but not crazy small. We'll be cooking this for 2 to 2.5 hours, and we don't want the pieces to completely fall apart. I'm also removing the hard fat from the roast. We want to keep the soft fat that melts down or renders as the chili cooks, but this hard fat, it's not going to render completely, and it'll end up being chunks of weird chewy fat that's really unpleasant to bite down on when you're expecting meat. When the beef is all cubed up, we're ready to start cooking. In a large enamel Dutch oven or a heavy stainless steel pot with a lid, heat a couple of tablespoons of oil over medium-high heat until it's hot and shimmery. Now this can be vegetable oil, canola oil, avocado oil, any neutral flavored oil that won't add its flavor to the chili. When the oil is hot, add in the chuck roast cubes in batches to avoid crowding the pan and sear the cubes on all sides. The meat won't be cooked through, and we're not looking to do that. Searing the meat like this develops more complex flavor in the beef, and it also leaves those wonderful brown bits at the bottom of the pan called fond, and that is some rich, beefy flavor right there. Remove each batch as they're seared, and when all the beef cubes are browned, set them aside for just a couple of minutes. Now back to the pot, and we're going to dump in our container with the diced peppers and the onion. Saute these in the remaining oil until they start to soften and take on a little color, which should be about 5 minutes. If your pan is a little dry, you can add in a little bit more oil, just enough to keep the veggies moving around. When they're starting to get soft, add in the minced garlic and stir this continuously for 30 seconds until the garlic gets nice and fragrant. Now dump all that meat back into the pot as well as any juices on the plate, and immediately add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Stir this around so that the veggies and the meat are all mixed together, as well as to coat everything with the tomato paste. Doing this will start to caramelize that paste, which adds another layer of richness and complexity to the flavor of the chili. The acid in the tomato paste is also going to start to break down the connective tissue in the meat, helping it to get nice and soft as it cooks. Next, pour in 1 28-ounce can of fire-roasted tomatoes, not drained. I keep these in my pantry in smaller cans, so I'm using 2 of the 14.5-ounce cans. Pour in 2 cups of beef stock, and then give everything a little preliminary stir before adding the seasonings. Now for the spices, we want 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and a half teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Add a couple of good pinches of salt and some pepper to taste and stir this up really well so the tomatoes and all the spices are evenly distributed throughout the chili. Bring this to a boil and then turn the heat down to the lowest of the low. Pop the lid on and simmer this for 2 to 2.5 hours until the meat is soft and tender. You'll want to stir this occasionally just to keep everything moving in there and avoid any sticking. I stirred mine every half hour or so and it turned out just right. Now let's whip up some corn muffins. So I want to be upfront that this one is not a copycat recipe since Outback Steakhouse does not serve these. But where I am, corn muffins may as well be a vehicle for chili. But they're delicious and they'll go beautifully with our Tasmanian chili, so here we go. Start by preheating the oven to 350 degrees and then grab a 12-cup muffin tin. You can use cupcake liners if you want, but I'm spraying the tin with some oil because it gives the muffins a nice crispy texture on the edges. In a medium bowl, whisk together 2 eggs and add 2 tablespoons of honey and 3/4 of a cup of whole milk. Whisk all that together so everything is fully incorporated and then set the wet ingredients to the side. Now in a large bowl, add 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of yellow cornmeal, a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of salt. Give these a little whisk so everything is evenly combined. Grab that wet ingredient mix we just made and pour that into the dry ingredient bowl. And the last ingredient we need is a 1/2 cup or 1 stick of melted butter. Now you want this butter to be melted but not hot because if it's too hot, it runs the risk of cooking our egg. I melted the butter in the microwave and then I popped it in the fridge for a minute or two just so it was barely warm when I poured it in the bowl. Stir everything up until it's just blended, and it's okay if you even still have some small lumps. Just don't overmix this because we don't want to activate the gluten in the flour. We want these corn muffins to be soft and tender, not chewy or bread-like, so you want to stir just until everything's combined and then stop. Over to the muffin tin, and we want to fill the cups about 3/4 of the way full, and I needed every last drop of this mixture to fill the cups out the way we want. It's important to note here that you will not have a lot of domage going on with these muffins. They'll rise a very little amount and have a lightly rounded top, but they won't rise up and overflow the cups like a cupcake. When all the batter is doled out in the cups, bake this in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes or until the tops of the muffins are set and turning a light golden color. When they're done, pull them out of the oven and let them cool in the pan for a few minutes before removing them. Now corn muffins, like cornbread, are best served warm, so I started making these about half an hour before the chili was done, so the muffins would be coming out of the oven just at the right time. These muffins are delightfully golden, and look at that lovely crispy crust. Just before the chili and the muffins were done, I did chop up some green onion and I shredded up some Colby Jack cheese since Outback serves this chili with both of these as toppings. All right, our chili is done and look at that. Oh my gosh, this looks so delicious. This is also the point where you can add more salt and pepper if you need to, but mine tasted perfect, just like this. Serve this with our shredded Colby Jack cheese, sprinkle some chopped green onion on top, and we may as well have been at the restaurant. So I will say, this recipe has the flavor of Outback Steakhouse Tasmanian Chili, but it's so much heartier. The chili at the restaurant gets some flack for being watery or too thin sometimes, but this chili here is loaded, and as you can see, it's definitely not too thin. Now for the cost. As usual, I'll have the cost breakdown in the description so you can see how that works out. Now at the restaurant, this comes in 2 sizes, a cup and a crock. The cup runs around $5.99 for 8 ounces, and the crock is usually about $8.99 for 18 ounces. I spent right around $30 for this entire pot of chili. My 7-quart Dutch oven was about half full, and 3.5 cups comes to 112 ounces. So I made the equivalent of 14 cups or 6 crocks of chili if I'm using their serving sizes. At $5.99 a piece, 14 cups of chili would cost me over $80, and 6 crocks at $8.99 would cost just under $55, not including taxes, tips, fees, all that extra junk. It basically breaks down to a little over $2 for a cup or $5 for a crock. We also had leftovers for days, so this was definitely not 30 bucks for one meal. It was more like 30 bucks for the whole weekend. And not only was this ridiculously cheaper, it was also exponentially better. This chili has the delicious Tasmanian chili flavor, but it was so chunky and hearty. At this rate, I'm never going to go out to eat again because every time we make something at home, it just turns out so much better. Oh, and yes, those delicious corn muffins were the perfect vehicle for the chili. They were fabulous. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe, leave me a comment below, maybe share my video with friends if you're enjoying making these mouth-watering foods with me. Stay tuned on Sundays for comforting and cozy home-cooked meals and treats, and I have some really awesome stuff coming up, so don't miss out. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here next Wednesday for some more better at-home copycat cooking. Bye!